got today an amazing guest, my good friend Moises Velasquez.
Here we are.
The owner, creator of Yummie Creative.
Yeah, I'm founder. Yeah,
Founder.
Myself and Rob, my partner, couldn't be here today.
Give me the slogan because I love the slogan.
So we're a creative content company that specializes in creating tasty ideas for hungry minds.
Woo!
He's a writer. My partner Rob's a writer, so that's one of the beauties and the advantages
This shit is
of working with him.
That shit is tasty.
Exactly, it's yummy.
It's yummy. Damn right it is.
That was the initial. Originally, actually, when we were talking about company names and kind of forming the company, we were originally going to call it Butter.
Butter.
Because everything tastes better with butter.
Oh.
You know, so and when he pitched the idea to me, I was like, I had to like take a step back, think about it. I was like, all right, I see it, and let's look it up. We started looking up domains, and of course, there's like a company in Sweden called Butter, and of course, they're a production company.
Really?
Yeah.
What the fuck? What are the chances?
Yeah, I was like, out of all things, like a Swedish
Great
company.
minds think alike.
Yeah, yeah, and they're a good production company.
Really?
Legit.
They're pretty big?
They're legit. I don't know how big they are. I think they're Swedish, like I said, but the content look legit.
How big are you trying to get?
I think it's an initial conversation that you have with any entrepreneur. Sky's the limit. As big as we can get.
Of course. But I mean, everyone always says that, but I feel like there's sometimes a limit where it's like, people are like, yeah, the sky's the limit, but I don't necessarily want the sky.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like, I'm cool with, handling this amount of work. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Getting to the sky, it's a lot of work sometimes.
Absolutely. I think initially we just want to build the company out to something that, we love what we do, and that's initially what the company was based upon, is two individuals that are creative, talented, brought together to create and to work on what they love, which is film. So initially I think we just really want to create not only for us, but a sense of community within the filmmakers, be able to support ourselves and whoever it is that we have employed underneath us. I think just scaling large enough to where we have consistent work coming in to where we can stay busy, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, whether or not you see it that way, video is an art form. And you always have the interpretation of the starving artist. Now, I've been fortunate to never have to go through that, but it has been known to happen, especially as a freelancer.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely building it out to something that's long term, but at the same time, the way I see success as a business, and I think a lot of people do too, is not having to work there. If I take 3 days off, 5 days off, the business is still going to function without me being there. That's initially what I want when we build it out, and it scales as it should.
Being able to create a system and a business
Yeah.
that runs self-sustainably without you having to necessarily be there.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, that's a business.
Of course.
As initially as right now, I'm a freelancer.
You're hustling.
Yeah, so if I get sick or stop working, I don't
The
make
money
any
stops.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So initially, that's really where we're trying to go with it. And then I think it starts off with, we just want to be largest within our state. And maybe not the largest, but one of the most well-known, the most versatile, the most popular.
What are some of the challenges within that? Like, even just within the state of Delaware? Because you've got great quality and everything, you've got great work. And Delaware is super small.
Yeah.
So it should be a lot easier for you to maybe corner the market. No?
In a sense, the disadvantage, it's not necessarily a disadvantage. We're not the first. There's another company that is the first.
What company?
Right? So Short Order.
Short Order?
Short Order. It's a production company based out of Wilmington.
Okay.
So they were initially.
Are you the second?
There's been others.
Okay.
But when we're talking legitimate video production, there's a lot of people that are filmmakers or content creators, but it's not legitimate production. When we're talking production, we're talking $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 budgets. Legitimate crews, lighting, the whole production.
Because you've done stuff with, like, NASCAR.
Yeah, we've done
major stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, so we're not trying to be, two guys with cameras that are walking around. We're trying to build a team. We're trying to build a big production company.
Okay.
So initially, because there is that existing production company, a lot of the work goes to them. But it's just finding a niche that we can kind of push ourselves in, creating conversations, creating networks with different marketing companies, with different agencies, and just getting that, that ball rolling. But initially, it's really making that connection and getting those jobs, because again, we're talking, not $3,000, $2,000. We're talking at least $10,000, $20,000 productions.
Now, how do you get budgets like that? And like, what's the process of being like, all right, yeah, I'm trying to be a production company. I've got some cameras, I got some people. Like, how do I land a gig like that, and then like get the budget? Obviously, the company will give you the budget to do it, right?
Sometimes. Well, and I think, and that's what part of the reason. That's all right. Part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is a lot of people, and they don't know. It's not necessarily a market that they're familiar with, but typically in production, what ends up happening is for a larger business, let's say they're working with like a Chase or something, right? Chase doesn't necessarily work B2B. They'll work with an agency. Now that agency is in charge of creating the creative, so they come up with the whole concept. So they'll come up with a video, they'll come up with whatever the case may be, part of a larger campaign. So initially they have kind of like a Rolodex of production companies or agencies that they work with, and it's basically a bidding system. So they basically contact Yummie or whoever the case may be,
and they're like, hey,
we've
this,
got a job.
this, and this at this budget. Can you guys do it?
Sometimes they don't say a budget. Sometimes we have to put a bid in.
Really?
Sometimes that's been known to happen. Sometimes if we have a good relationship with that agency, then they'll call us directly and say, hey, we want you to do this. Here's what we're working with.
When they ask you for a bid, do they tell you how much other companies were bidding? Or do they just want to see what you throw out there blindly?
Sometimes they want to see what you throw out there blindly. That's why it's important that we develop relationships with these people, so that we can call them up and say, hey, I appreciate you calling me, but what are you thinking? Just kind of
pick their brains a little bit, see.
Build water.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to at least get an idea of what's going on. Because we're so young, we're not going to undercut, because we're in the business to make money at the end of the day.
Of course.
So we have to make profit, but
of course,
being competitive.
Because you don't want to. It would suck that like they call you and their closest bid for a project is like 5,000. You're like, yeah, 2,500.
Exactly.
And you just undercut it by half.
Right. Yeah, and then in which case, you got the job, which is cool, but
has there been any instances like that?
Not necessarily. We've been fortunate. So just a little background. Yummie is the formation of my partner. His name is Rob Markopoulos. He worked with NFL Films for about 10 years. He was one of their lead directors. And prior to that, he went to USC, University of Southern California, where he received his master's in film, and then he went to Syracuse undergrad. So he knows his shit, Together we've got about 25 years of experience. But what ended up leading to Yummie was he actually founded the company in 2008. He was originally signed with various different companies in New York, and then he formed his own company. He ended up signing on with another company, and Yummie ended up kind of just
being birthed from that.
Well, Yummie was birthed in 2008, but he ended up just kind of being pushed aside until, while the other jobs were there. So when I met Rob, we continued working, we started working, and he was like, hey, we work well together, we should do this ourselves, we should start, form our own company. And we were looking initially at different names, we were looking at different things, and then he told me about Yummie, and I was like, well, it's a no-brainer. We rebranded, we did the website, we did the branding, and that's kind of that's where Yummie was born, really.
10 years later.
Rebirthed, it was really rebirthed, given a new image, and we're really working on getting our branding on point going forward. Because
why did he stop back then with it?
Well, like I said, he got signed with another company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's one of the struggles of, especially him being on his own, was again building those long-term relationships with agencies, with brands. Typically, with larger productions, we don't go B2B. So I'm not going to go up to Chase, call up Chase, and be like, hey, you guys want a video? You're typically contacted through an agency that they work with, because at companies that large, they have someone that handles their full campaigns.
So then how do you get into their Rolodex?
That's the tricky part. Forming relationships, calling them up, figuring out where these people are, where they hang out. It's finding strategic ways of networking.
So if you're not going to call them up to be like, hey Chase, you need a video, what are you calling them up to say? Like, hey Chase, like, I'm Moises. Nice to meet you. Trying to be friends?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think initially it's having a screening of knowing who you're calling. I don't expect to call Chase and then they're like, oh yeah, let me pass you over to the right guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But we do expect to have these conversations, especially with the agencies. Like, hey, we're looking forward to speaking to whoever handles video production, you know, and we have somebody in place to make those calls, to make these relationships being formed. Because at the same time, we do still have our own. So even though we are formed through Yummie, we both still freelance quite often.
Okay.
And so we're both consistently busy. So we ended up having to bring somebody on to really help us with the sales, with the network development, if you will.
So you got like a whole back office team right now.
But just one person for now.
Okay.
But, yeah, but it's an initial. I mean, with us as well. So you know,
That's
we
dope,
don't.
though.
Yeah, we don't put it all on him. We put
Split
some
it up a
on
little
him,
bit, you know.
and then make the initial conversation, and then all right, let's.
But
see
he's the
what we
one
do.
that'll like do some of the cold calling and
Yeah,
some of the dirty work.
some of the dirty work.
But
Yeah.
you need that person.
You
He's
need
like
that
the,
person.
It's
He's
like the
the salesman.
Draymond Green on
Exactly.
Golden State. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
You
Yeah.
need the bruiser.
You have to have one, and that's initially. I mean, I think like in any business, you know, you got to figure out where your customers are, and you got to find ways to get to them. It's not. It's unfortunate because it's not a typical network or a typical market that like a normal business where you can just put ads out or send out flyers, things like that. We can send out as many ads and flyers out, but I need to contact the person that is directly dealing with marketing or can make the decision to say, all right, let's make a $10,000-$20,000 video. You know, these are the people that we need to be friends with at the end of the day.
Damn right. So, what was your first big production video that you worked on personally, and how did you land that?
So initially, a lot of it was through Rob. So Rob and I met. He actually, and still does, handles the Red Clay School District has its own TV channel called EdTV. Excuse me. So they're actually based out of Thomas McCain High School, which is where I went to high school. And through just various volunteering and being involved in school, I met a gentleman who knew Rob. And he was like, oh, you gotta meet Rob. You know, at the time, I didn't think I was doing anything in video. In fact, I thought I was gonna be into cars, because my dad's a mechanic. So I was like, I'm gonna just take over the business, do that, work on cars. And actually, through Bryce, we were in a student government group. And we were like, we need to make a promo about what we are, what we do. I think a good idea is video. I was like, well, I've made videos like in the past, like in middle school for like YouTube, you know, stupid things. I was like, I can't imagine it's that hard.
So I got this.
Yeah, I was like, well, I'll do it. I was like, we have cameras at McCain, you know,
Yeah.
we'll get it done. So I went up to Rob and I had a conversation with him. I was like, hey, I want to make a video. And he's like, okay. And he basically kind of walked me through the process. He was like, you need to figure out, first of all, what you want to do. Then you need to storyboard it. Then you actually need to shoot it. And then you need to edit it. So it was like that initial process and him kind of guiding me, telling me, here's what you need to do. Now you need to do this, now you need to do that. And I would show him everything like through the step. And it was just that process that I sort of like fell in love with. But at the same time, without saying it in a weird way, I kind of fell in love with working with him. That process, bouncing ideas and just being collaborative was really cool. And it was a challenge, which I was always into, you know, finding new things and kind of mastering them in a sense, and at least getting to know them. And editing came in, and that was like a whole mess, but you know, I got it quickly. And I think that's what really made the whole thing attractive to me, was creating videos. So going back to what you asked, after that, through high school, Rob just brought me on. So Rob is a legitimate director in Philadelphia and the whole area. So he had me on a shoot that he did for Con Air.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, which he actually ended up winning. It was like a part of a campaign, so it was like I think like 6 videos or so, and they ended up winning a campaign for like best online ad, something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is, but so that was the initial first eye-opening set, because you know you walk in, there's a lighting truck, there's a guy with an easy rig with a giant camera holding it. And it was like, holy shit, like this is awesome. You know, I'm back at school. I mean, I think at this point I was still in high school. You know, with a little camera and
on Con Air, on the set of Con Air.
on the set of Con Air, yeah, actors and directors and
Real life actors.
And the part that was really cool is that I knew Rob. I had a relationship with Rob,
And you were what, like 16, 17 years
I
old?
want to say I was like 17 years old at the time, 16, 17. I want to say 17. I'm just hanging out with Rob, just on set with him, and that was, again, it was one of the initial things that really made the whole thing attractive, was having someone that I could open up with, in a sense, but just to guide me.
Was it in that moment that you were just like, this feels right?
No, because to be completely honest, I was very doubtful up until the end of high school what I wanted to do, because I loved cars completely. I thought my entire life I believed I was going to work on cars. So making the switch, I mean, this happened the summer of junior year, beginning of senior year. All this started happening. So it was like, whoa.
Shit happened fast.
But at the same time, I'm kind of like expected to go to college, you know? So it was like, holy shit, like, what do I do? And there was actually an auto tech competition that I was a part of. McKean has automotive. So I went to the auto tech competition, and I told myself, well, if I don't win, I'm doing video. And of course I didn't win, and I should have, but I largely think it was like subconscious in me, like, I don't want to win. You know, it was
Your body was like, nah, you don't need this. Like,
yeah.
The universe was like directing you towards your destiny.
Completely, yeah. That's what I believe. So, yeah, I didn't win the competition. Actually, no, I came in third. I think third or fourth.
Still good though.
Yeah, it's not terrible, but at the end of the day, yeah, I ended up choosing video, which ended up kind of like being a weird time, because I was like, all right, you know, I'll go to college, and major in film, and minor in, I figured, marketing or business of some sorts at the time. So I, you know, I went up, applied, got in. I didn't get into the school I wanted to go into. I really wanted to go to NYU. Didn't get into NYU. But at the same time, I just started making videos, so I didn't have anything to really show them. So I got into Temple Film School. I went. You know,
did you graduate from Temple?
Well, no, I actually ended up having to drop out.
Okay.
So I got in, going to the, you know, to the with the overview. What are they called? The overviews. You know, just where.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so we go. I go to, you know, I go to the financial aid thing.
Orientation.
The orientation, yeah. I'm like, hey, I still haven't gotten any financial aid stuff. Like, what's going on? I just want to follow up and see, you know. I'm supposed to start next week. And she's like, yeah. And I hadn't gotten anything, so I was just under the belief, like, I didn't know the process. My parents didn't go to college, so I was like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I went up, you know, and they're like, well, you don't qualify for financial aid, and here's your basically your invoice, your bill, and it was like $18,000 for the first semester, and I was like, holy shit.
I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Take it back.
No, I was like, no, dude, it was heartbreaking, because I at this point, I mean, I even had a scholarship set up through the automotive program.
Oh shit.
Which I turned down, because I was like, no, I'm going to Temple. I'm cool. Like, I'm good. So it was like really, it was a tough time, you know, because your friends are going away to college, it's summertime, and you're kind of like, what am I supposed to do? Like, seriously, like, all my friends are going away, so it was.
Did you feel like a little, like, kind of like depressed from it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think that whole summer, I was just like, after that, I was just like, what do I do? Like, I could work on cars, but I really wanted to do this, but I don't know what to do.
When you got that bill, did you think about, like, taking out a loan from, like, your bank, or?
I did, and that was the initial conversation that I was like, I told my parents, I was like, here's what happened, you know. My dad said, well, he's like, my dad right away, he's like, all right, well, listen, if we sell these cars, we can do this, and he's like, you know, we should be able to scavenge like 18 grand together. I was like, no, that's not the point. Like, 18,000 now, 18,000 next semester, 18,000, like, it's not feasible.
Yeah.
So I did look into the banking system. I didn't qualify for loans. I didn't have a co-signer, so I didn't have anything to play with. So yeah, it was tough. But anyway, I ended up going back to McKean.
Do you wish that you had went to college or had gotten in? Because obviously you haven't needed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you've created a lot of success for yourself.
Right.
Without it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I tell people this now all the time. Now that I've graduated college, like, you don't need college to be successful anymore. as long as you have the will, the drive,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean, and take your education into your own hands, which
Sure.
you already have with finding your passion and, you know, expanding your knowledge within that entire sector.
Yeah, no, and I think that's definitely something that's important to keep in mind if you're trying to determine whether or not college is right for you is, do I have something that I feel passionate about?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that is oftentimes the biggest determining factor. Obviously, if you have to be a doctor, if you have to be a lawyer, you have to go to college.
Yeah, that type of stuff.
Right, you need
But other than
a
that-
degree. But yeah, do you feel passionate about something? Because at the end of the day, if you do, or at least like something, that you're going to be driven to learn more about it and do more. But initially, yeah, I mean, I don't think college necessarily for the education, but I think for the experience. You know, because of not going to college, I just don't the partying, you know,
Yeah,
the
the
social
fun
aspect.
stuff.
Yeah, which is, you know, regrettably. But I try not to, you know,
Dwell on it.
yeah, and just move on and focus on what I'm currently doing. But anyway, going back to what I was telling you, we ended up, I had no money, I had to drop out, you know, a week before school started.
Yeah.
So I'm back at McCain because I was actually editing just random videos that I was putting together for no reason. Like, I think we filmed ourselves like at a beach and just, you know, at this point I was just creating videos to create videos.
Yeah.
And my partner Rob now was like, he kind of guided me through the whole college process. You know, he was like, apply here, apply here, apply here. Here's where I went. And he was like, he's like, so school next week, huh? I was like, no. He said, what happened? I was like, well, I had to drop out. I didn't have any money. Like, realistically, like, I didn't have any money. And he's like, well, you know, it's just me right now running the network. So if you want to come on board, you know, love to have you as an editor initially.
And how old were you at this point?
I just graduated high school, I think 17.
Okay.
I don't know if I had turned 18 yet. So it was like, I was like, yeah.
So a door slammed in your face.
The door slammed.
And then a bigger one even opened.
Right away, it just opened. So, I mean, jumped out. This was for Red Clay. Started right away, started editing, started just basically editing, shooting, then some writing here and there. And it was still tough because, you know, I'm like, I'm working, I'd rather be in school. To me, I think I was at the point where I felt sort of like a loser because I wasn't in school, because my entire life I grew up believing I'm going to go to college, or I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get education.
Everyone in our generation.
Right,
you know
exactly.
what I mean?
And my parents especially, they're like, you have to go to college.
Go to school, get a good job. You
Yeah.
know, the whole sentiment that we all grew up on.
Right, that belief that that's the only way to achieve success.
Mhm.
And so it was tough, but I took a step back. I realized I was making a pretty good amount of money at the time for literally just graduating high school, going right in. I think I was making, I mean, at that point I think I was still making more money than kids graduating now, you know? So
Probably.
it was a cool experience, but at the same time you still have that dwelling in the back of your mind, like, I didn't go to
Like,
college,
yeah.
I'm not going to college.
Like, I could be doing things that other people are doing.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about it now?
Now there's always a sense of like uncertainty, like whether or not this is going to work out. But at the same time, it's worked out so far.
Why do you feel like there's a sense of uncertainty?
Well, I think-
You've made it this far.
Yeah, but I think that's just part of there's always like well, what if I fail type of vibe,
yeah.
subconscious.
Michael Jordan even got nervous every time he stepped onto the court.
Yeah, and especially you know, a lot of what I would do right now is freelancing. So there are periods where it's like not necessarily slow, but I'll be in between projects or waiting on checks, and I'm like, fuck, like, you know,
Need that money.
Need money. I mean, thankfully I have a savings account to fall back on, but still,
Yeah.
you're like, fuck.
Yeah. No, I know what you
bills, I have
mean.
things to pay for. So there's always that initial self-doubt, but just pushing through it. I mean, and I guess believing in yourself, staying active, staying creative.
Mhm.
A lot of times it ends up being a little bit difficult to work on what you want to work on, because
Because you got to work on what other people need you to work on.
Yeah, so it takes a turn from full creative passion into
A job.
But it's finding that balance and finding ways to stay creative within what you're doing.
How do you find that balance, personally?
I think it's just bringing ideas to the table, being open with people. So with John, for example, John, Jordan, you know, they want to do a blog. I'm like, all right, well, why don't we do this, this, and this? you know, finding ways to make it fun and creative and innovative in a sense.
And are you enjoying that whole thing?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I enjoy what I do at the end of the day. I mean, at some point it definitely becomes, especially editing, it becomes very tedious, but
Monotonous.
very, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I spent like 2 or 3 weeks on that project, the latest project we did.
Sheesh.
So it was, yeah, it was,
How many hours do you think? Just on like one project?
I mean, it depends on the project. You know, we have some cooking shows that we work on for ITV that are 30 minutes, but they might take me a week, 2 weeks to cut together, just to finalize.
How much do you charge for something like that?
So it varies based on clients. Typically with Yummie, we don't charge like per hours, we just charge a flat rate. Like we calculate how much it's gonna cost to put things together.
Mm-hmm.
But
what goes into that calculation?
well, we look at the concept, we look at, you know, how many shots are there.
Mhm.
If it's a short, like 30-second promo, then, you know, the editing's not gonna take terribly long. Whereas if it's like a music video or a documentary or something, then we sort of have to calculate, try at least to calculate how long it's gonna take. And it's not always,
Accurate.
yeah, like, you might end up having to hustle a little bit to make it up, but, yeah, we don't like to charge hourly with that sort of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So typically, it's just a flat rate or a day rate per job. Like, if I'm spending 2 weeks on a edit, you know, editing rates vary anywhere depending on who your editor is, from like $200 a day to like $1,000 a day.
I know editing is expensive.
Yeah.
Shout out to my editor though. Hooks me up. Was there a point where you were doing this stuff where you were like, all right, now, this is what I want to do?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I think it was when I went back to school, which was a year. I took a year off, saved some money. I was like, all right, I have to go back to school.
Okay, so you tried to
I tried
fancy that idea again.
I tried it, but I went with a different approach. I said, all right, well, video seems to be working out right now. And I had other clients that it ended up really working out because I ended up getting at TV, I ended up getting another brand called Moises Classic, and through them I ended up getting some other connections.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up really working out in terms of building an initial customer base. So I was like, all right, well, I have the money now, I'm gonna go back to school. I'm gonna go back to Del Tech. I went for business. And I loved the business classes. I was like, this is awesome, like I want to do this. And the reason I went back to school for business was because of my client, Moises Classic. He was an entrepreneur and I saw the hustle, I saw what he was creating, and I was like, this is a cool process. And I was like researching, I was
Just
learning
inspired.
I was inspired. I was learning about business, I was learning about advertising, I was learning about this and that. And I was like, I need to go back to school because I wanted to learn more. I get there, I have to take English, I have to take math.
All the bullshit classes.
I
You're like,
one
this is
bit-
not what I wanted to
Yeah,
study.
I had to map out 2 of my days, 2 full days in school from like 8 a.m. to like 8 p.m. just to like knock the classes out. Because I was like, if I'm gonna do school, I'm gonna do it full time
Yeah.
while working full time. It's the only way I can
Yeah,
pay
balance
for
it
it
out.
and
Half the
justify it.
time.
Yeah, and it was tough, and I did it for 2 semesters.
So
and
2 full days a week from pretty much like 8 in the morning to 8 at night.
Yeah,
Just-
I mean there was like maybe an hour break or 2. in
Still,
between.
that's like an
Still.
overload of.
Yeah, I was
school.
in school all day, and I was like, I remember my second semester I had math 8 in the morning, and I just remember sitting there thinking, I could be making more money not doing anything in my apartment right now than I am just sitting here. And I was just
Learning math.
so bored out of my mind. I always hated math to begin with, and I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't do this. I love the business classes. I like microeconomics. I like macroeconomics. I loved all that stuff. The business-oriented stuff. I hated.
When I was in college, even the business classes I didn't like.
So that was actually the interesting part. I did like the business classes. I think it was initially because of the teachers. They were really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like math and writing came easy to me. Math, I was just like, I don't want to do this.
Tell the world about the Emmy. You made.
Emmy. Yeah,
You
yeah.
got an Emmy for.
An Emmy.
You know, you won an Emmy for a project that you did. How does that feel? What was the process like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just give me the whole lowdown on that, because
Well,
it's a hell of an accomplishment,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
You know, and filmmakers around the world
right. They try for this
for
one thing.
years,
Yeah.
their entire life sometimes to get this award, and You're 23.
Yeah.
You already got one.
Yeah, no, it was definitely initially really, when we made the video, we didn't think that this was going to happen, right? We just made the video. It was through Ed TV, through Rob and myself, you know, the founders of Yummie, but so Rob initially got contacted by Warner Elementary School.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, hey, we want to make a video about Black History Month. Here's kind of what we do. They talk about some ideas. They ended up kind of, you know, we ended up kind of shooting a story, A World Without Black People, which basically talks about African American inventors and the role that they had in our history throughout, you know, the products we see every day, and what it would be like if they hadn't invented those things. So we sat down with them. Rob and I kind of figured out what we wanted to do. How are we going to shoot this? How are we going to cut it? The thing is, we were under a pretty tight deadline. I think we had like 2 weeks to put it together. And the 1 week, it was like snowing, so we only shot like 2 days. And so we ended up going. The cool part was that we had a bunch of kids with us. And it was like, you know, they were carrying around lights, and they were pulling cameras, and they were like, can you get us out of class, this thing, that. So it was really inspiring, because I remember when I was back in high school with Rob, and I was like, this is awesome, you know. So that, to me, was where I really connected with the project, with the kids, and just falling in love with the process. But we shot the video. Rob and I both shot parts. I cut it together, and we rushed it. You know, initially, I think part of, I would say, really one of the major parts of any video is the music. So I think I took a solid day to find. We used 2 tracks that I we ended up purchasing a licensing, and ended up cutting it together. And then, I don't know, you know, a few months later, Rob's like, oh hey, you know, we had another video that we had done, like a short documentary for special needs program. He's like, so I submitted both of our videos, and just so you're aware. I was like, oh, cool, you know.
See what happens.
Yeah, I didn't expect anything of it. So, you know, we're just talking one day, we're outside, and he's like, hey, we got the nominations. I was really, like, it's interesting, you know, like I didn't even know what to think at that point. You're just
Let's
like,
see if we can win.
yeah. So he's like, all right, you know, he's like, we're still trying to figure out. It was in Pittsburgh, so we're trying to figure out whether or not
I'm gonna go to
going
the event.
is the right thing. Yeah, the hotel was sold out. Flights were like ridiculously expensive. For some reason, the flights to Pittsburgh were like $700, $800.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
from Philadelphia.
From Philadelphia.
It's in the same state.
Yeah, it was just like, what? We were like, this doesn't make any sense.
Should be a $50 flight.
Yeah, it should at least be $200 like round trip or something, you know. So, well, you know, we ended up figuring out. We were like, all right, we'll drive. It's like 4 hours. We ended up finding last minute a room, 2 rooms within the actual hotel where the event was being held. So we get there. We were only there for the day, and you know, we ended up going back. We get there, we get to the gala, and immediately it's like cliques of people with like, you know, it's not their first time being here. So there's groups over there, there's groups over here, and then Rob and I were just like, we're here. So we go to our table.
How's it going, guys?
Exactly.
A lot of weird stares.
People were just like, they all know each other, or at least they.
And they're like,
No,
no,
love
new
each other.
guys.
Yeah, so we end up going back to our table, which is like in the back, and Rob's just like,
Did you like Rosa Parks put you in the back?
yeah, they put us in the back. I was like, I don't even care, dude. I was like, they're feeding us, we're here. I don't care what anybody thinks, you know, we're here, and we're talking to the people at our table. They're starting the nomination. Like they started right away. We sat down, the food was out. They started announcing people right away, and the first group of people that won was 2 people at our table. So we're like, oh shit, all right.
Right, a winning table.
Yeah.
Damn.
The next, you know, maybe 4 or 5, you know, categories down, 2 other people went from our table. So we're like, holy shit. So one of our categories was up. We were nominated. We didn't get it. So we're like, fuck. Like we were on a roll here, you know.
So close.
So close. But in my mind, I was like, it's gonna win. It's gonna happen. Of course, the time comes.
What category was it?
Best educational, like themed video.
Okay.
So it was under the education category. But yeah, we were up against actually 6 other companies, and the thing is, the video was created by just Rob and I, like just the two of us, and the kids, the kids that were moving shit around for us. This was like Channel 6 ABC, like PBS, like large companies that we were going up against, and we ended up winning, and it was just like, like if butterflies in your stomach, you're like, whoa, like.
When they call your name,
Yeah.
Yummie Creative, what was it like? Me?
Yeah, well, they called it was a collaborative effort with that TV, so it wasn't through Yummie necessarily, but it was through the founders of Yummie.
Okay.
But it was, it was unbelievable, and quite frankly, I don't think it's still kind of registered with me, because I'm just like, all right, well, let's go, let's keep going, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, I don't want just one, I
Yeah.
want 10.
Yeah, so now we're not creating content with the idea of
Winning an award.
winning an award,
Of course.
but
Just
we're
working on world class.
definitely taking the videos that we're creating and saying, let's really put effort into them.
Mhm.
If we can do that with the video that just the two of us shot when we were sick in, at a school,
What can we do
What can
with
we do
a
with-
little bit more effort and maybe
with
a
a
little
crew,
more money?
Yeah, with a crew, with more money, because like I said, it was just us two.
Mhm.
We won.
I like it. And if you guys haven't gone to check out that video yet, make sure you go to Yummie Creative and check it out.
Yeah, it's yummycreative.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Yummie Creative, Facebook, Yummie Creative. And if you guys need anything video-wise, definitely reach out.
Hit him up. It's the man right there. So, shit, I had some closing thoughts. Before we get into the closing thoughts, I want you to tell us some, like, war stories about this stuff, because this business is pretty cutthroat at
Yeah.
times, right? Like, what are some things that you've learned from being in this business, and, just like,
Just war stories.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about some of the
Yeah.
good stuff. You know what I mean? Tell us some of the bad, because
Well-
in business entrepreneurship, it's not all just good.
No, especially in the startup. I mean, because technically we're still a startup,
Yeah.
Well, I think in any startup, initially, it's making sure that you realize that it's a risk, that you might go periods of time. I mean, as a freelancer, as an entrepreneur, that you're starting your own business, you might go a little bit with financial insecurity or financial instability.
Yeah.
Where I might have money, I might not. So I think it's important that all entrepreneurs, before they fully commit, at least have something put away in the bank for a rainy day. If that takes another year to do what you want, then I would say make sure you have something put away. Just for the cost of the business, but for the cost of expenses, for
Mhm.
living, hard, insurance,
Personal stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to ruin your credit with a credit card just because you didn't have enough money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of, initially, that's not necessarily something I did, but I bought a car and I was like, oh, fuck.
How am I going to finance this?
I financed it, but it was like I got high APR because it was the first thing I ever bought.
Yeah.
So making sure that you have some money put away in the bank, but beyond that, I mean, I think in any industry you see who are the real competitors, and who are just the people that are there making noise. So it was initially distinguishing myself between the various competitors that are in the area.
Distinguishing yourself between the real and the fake.
Absolutely, because I think there's
You could just say it.
Yeah. There's a lot of filmmakers out there that they have a camera and or a gimbal, and they call themselves creators, which I mean they are. I wouldn't put past anyone, because I started somewhere and we all have to respect where we started. But there is
We're not going to call them out.
no, we're not going to call them out. But there's definitely groups of people that see themselves or overhype themselves, and I think it's important to stay humble and to stay true to who you are and what you are. And realize that you're not quite there yet, or you're not as big as you think you are. But war stories, it really just, I think it just varies on finance. Making sure that you have something that you can specialize in. Making it in the actual film industry. And I always tell people this, there's two kinds of filmmakers. There's the Instagram filmmaker, or the YouTuber, I guess technically there's three, that just overhypes.
Social media filmmaker.
Social media, content, stuff like that. Which isn't bad, because you're developing your own market, you're developing your own crowd, your own audience, and you're making it work, which I think is awesome. But there's a lot of people that fall into that pocket that aren't actually doing anything, they're just talking. And then there's the actual film industry, which for the most part, the people that are legitimately making, the big music videos and all that, we never hear from them on Instagram.
Yeah.
They're quiet, but they're legit.
Yeah.
They're people
They
that
don't
are-
need Instagram.
They're the ones that are winning the Emmys. They're the ones that are winning the Oscars. You
Mhm.
know, like. So I think it's.
They don't need publicity because they got word of mouth.
And I think
In
one of
the
the
highest realms.
Absolutely, and I think that's the importance of having a good network.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, that's all this business is who do you know? Do you know that person? Well, you should get to know them. I mean, that's in any business, you know.
Of course, that's in life. Period.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything is who you know. Look at our president.
Absolutely, yeah. But a good marketing campaign, you know. That's,
So, have you been burned by any connections like that?
I've been fortunate enough to where I haven't. I haven't necessarily been burned. I've heard war stories of people getting burned, like people, again, that claim to be legitimate filmmakers that bring on somebody to shoot a video and then end up giving them $50. Like, that's just not how you operate,
Mhm.
especially when you're charging more on the back end, things like that. You know, I think if you're trying to build something legitimate, then you have to be as legitimate as possible with everyone that you're working with. Treat them as family. Be open with them. Make them feel part of, make them feel like they're working with you, not for you. I guess that makes any kind of sense.
No, that makes sense.
I try to, I think one of the things I do want to mention is, I think the beauty of having an art is definitely finding I think if you're good at something, then eventually the money will come.
It's just having that passion.
Either having that initial passion and then I think like when you're passionate, the right people will end up kind of falling into place, which has kind of been my story anyway.
Mhm.
I've gotten pretty lucky in that sense, but I think initially it's just finding something that you're good at and really focusing on it, honing in your skills and putting your all into it.
And consistency.
Consistency, yeah. I'm just if you're painting, then consistently painting. If you're singing, consistently singing. But I do think that for any art, there's a business that has to be developed under it.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to be successful.
Yeah.
Otherwise, then it's just a hobby.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll never go from that legit to, that initial jump.
Yeah.
Into success.
From, oh yeah, I'm just doing this to, no, I'm really doing this.
Yeah, and I
I'm
think
really in the field.
Yeah, and I think I throw a lot of people off, especially when they're like, "Oh, you make videos." Like, what's your real job? This is my job.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
We've got a production
24/7.
company. Like,
Yeah.
like no, we're really in this.
We're really doing this, and it's a gamble, but anything worth doing is worth doing right, and anything with good results, I think, will have good risks.
And you've had great results.
We're trying.
So I'm always wishing you the best.
Likewise, thanks, Mikey.
No problem, yo.
Thank you
For coming.
Absolutely.
Let me get a little video for my Instagram.
Without a doubt.